fireworks started somewhere. Anyhow, Hare Krishna everyone, and we are back with the Easy Journey to Other Planets by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, page number 28. Even if a materialist wants to enjoy developed material facilities, he can transfer himself to planets where he can experience material pleasures much more advanced than those available on the Earth planet. But the best plan is to prepare oneself to return to the spiritual sky after leaving the body. However, if one is intent on enjoying material facilities, one can transfer himself to other planets in the material sky by utilizing yogic powers. The playful spaceships of the astronauts are but childish entertainments and are of no use for this purpose. Again, no offense to the astronauts, but this is just really, this is maybe sometime in the future when the spiritual knowledge will be more and more distributed and spread. People will come to their senses and realize that fact, it's just plain fact. But right now, yeah, it's eating a lot of the budgets of many countries, but this is just a childish entertainment. Hare Krishna. The Ashtanga Yoga system is also materialistic, inasmuch as it teaches one to control the movements of air within the material body. The spiritual spark, the soul, is floating on air within the body, and inhalation and exhalation are the waves of that air containing the soul. Therefore, the yogic system is a materialistic art of controlling this air by transferring it from the stomach to the navel, from the chest to the collarbone, and from there to the eyeballs, and from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planet. So let's read that again. Very important. Therefore, the yoga system is a materialistic art of controlling this air by transferring it from the stomach to the navel, from the chest to the collarbone, and from there to the eyeballs, and from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planet. Cerebellum. Right, so it's called mystic, and we are going to read more about this mystic power also in the book called Life Comes from Life. And none of this is some, this useless or like a silly, like mysticism that as people usually think of. But Prabhupada, he explains that in this book right now we can see that basically the soul, just like the Lord is Yogeshvara, he is the Lord of all mystics, like he's the supreme mystic. And we are his part and parcel, so we do have some mystic potency. And those who are in the yoga process, they are part of this like art of mysticism, but basically on the highest level in the spiritual world, it's not a point of applying mysticism to impress someone or to enjoy it yourself like in the material world people do, but it's a matter of relationship with the Lord, and this mysticism plays a secondary part to the relationship between the Lord and his devotees. Just like people cook food, and it's not just about how nicely you prepared something and you ate it, but it's just about, like having that dinner with your family and having a good meal and having a good conversation and the whole experience of that. So I just really want to get this point across because Srila Prabhupada, he talks about, we're talking about basically traveling from one planet to another. So why Prabhupada is saying that the best plan is to go to the spiritual sky? Because in the material world, it's just ridiculously small amount of what we're actually meant to experience as a son and daughter, like as a part and parcel of the Lord. Like experiencing this birth, death, old age, disease. None of this human experience is just completely useless, unnecessary sufferings. We're just not meant to be here because we're spirit souls, so I don't know why am I talking so much, but I just really want to get this point across to all the readers and to myself, of course. So, continuing. So he travels from the navel to the top of the head, and from there to any desired planet. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of the mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of the mind because in a moment we can transfer our minds to places hundreds of thousands of miles away. Intelligence is even finer. Fine than intelligence is the soul, which is not matter like mind and intelligence, but is spirit or antimatter. The soul is hundreds of thousands of times, hundreds and thousands of times, imagine, is finer and more powerful than intelligence. How empowering is that to realize that you're a spirit soul? We can thus only imagine the velocity of the soul in its traveling from one planet to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. The bestial civilization of eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense-gratifying has misled modern man into forgetting how powerful a soul he has. Wow. You see, like, from this, I really like this, like, from the explanation how the yogis, they are able to travel, like they are able to control their life air and travel to another planet. We're coming to the modern material civilization where it's all about eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense gratifying, right? This is just... We created such a pathetic life for ourselves, honestly. So modern man, into forgetting how, we have misled, this bestial civilization has misled modern man into forgetting how powerful a soul he has. As we have already described, the soul is a spiritual spark, which is many, many times more illuminating, dazzling, and powerful than sun, moon, or electricity. Human life is spoiled when man does not realize his real identity with his soul. Lord Chaitanya appeared with his disciple Nityananda to save man from this type of misleading civilization. Haribol! Jai Nitai, Jai Nimai. Srimad Bhagavatam also describes how yogis can travel to all the planets in the universe. When the vital force is lifted to the cerebellum, there is every chance of this force bursting out from the eyes, nose, ears, etc., as these are places which are known as the seventh orbit of the vital force. But the yogis can block out these holes by complete suspension of air. The yogi then concentrates the vital force in the middle position, that is, between the eyebrows. At this position, the yogi can think of the planet into which he wants to enter after leaving the body. He can then decide whether he wants to go to the abode of Krishna in the transcendental Vaikunthas, from which he will not be required to descend into the material world, or to travel to higher planets in the material universe. The perfect yogi is at liberty to do either. For the perfect yogi who has attained success, the method of leaving his body in perfect consciousness, transferring from one planet to another, is as easy as an ordinary man's walking to the grocery store. As already discussed, the material body is just a covering of the spiritual soul. Mind and intelligence are the undercoverings, and the gross body of earth, water, air, etc. is the overcoating of the soul. As such, any advanced soul who has realized himself by the yogic process, who knows the relationship between matter and spirit, can leave the gross dress of the soul in perfect order and as he desires. By the grace of God, we have complete freedom. Because the Lord is kind to us, we can live anywhere, either in the spiritual sky or in the material sky, upon whichever planet we desire. However, misuse of this freedom causes one to fall down into the material world and suffer the threefold miseries of conditioned life. The living of a miserable life in the material world by dint of the soul's choice is nicely illustrated by Milton in Paradise Lost. Wow, interesting example. Similarly, by choice, the soul can regain paradise and return home back to Godhead. Actually, before I was talking too much, and Prabhupada already described everything later on. Okay. I'm trying to not pre-read before episodes because then the feeling of fresh reactions gets lost. Okay, so we're going to stop here for today on this beautiful note. And the link to this book is in the description, so remember how powerful a soul you are. And we will see you next time. Hare Krishna.